They called it the golden age of piracy. But there was nothing golden about clinging to life in the middle of a raging sea, with your ship half splintered and your crew hanging on by tarred ropes. Out there, survival wasn't luck. It was preparation, instinct and grit. Every pirate, every sailor worth his salt carried more than weapons and plunder. They carried their survival. If you're the kind of person who loves stories of resourcefulness, survival and old-world grit, hit that subscribe button right now. You'll fit right in here on Prepper's Survival Blueprint. Before the legends, before the treasure maps and parrots, there was hard work, danger, and the constant fight against the sea itself. A pirate's life was a gamble. Storms, starvation, disease and cannon fire were everyday risks. Yet somehow these seafarers endured. They knew what modern preppers know today. Your gear is your lifeline. You can't control the storm, but you can control your readiness. Pirates had their own version of a bug-out bag, crude, compact and brutally effective. Forget gold coins. Rope was worth more than treasure in the middle of the ocean. Coiled by the yard, rope kept the ship's rigging tight, sails flying, and crew members from being swept overboard. Pirates carried extra lengths tucked away because a snapped line mid-storm meant disaster. They used hemp rope soaked in tar to prevent rot, a sticky, dark mix that sealed fibres against seawater. It smelled harsh but meant survival. When rigging tore apart or a mast cracked, that rope could mean the difference between drifting helplessly and sailing home. Tar wasn't just for ropes either. It sealed planks, patched leaks, and even waterproof clothing. Sailors often rubbed it into their skin and hair to stay dry and fight salt sores. That's how the nickname Jack Tar was born. Gritty, unpolished but ready for anything, that was a pirate's version of being battle-ready. Tools of the trade. Every sailor had a handful of simple, rugged tools that kept the ship alive. The marlinspike, a pointed iron tool, was used for splicing ropes. Sail needles and palm thimbles were used to patch sails shredded by cannon fire or storms. When a sail ripped, time was everything. The crew had minutes to stitch or lash a torn canvas back together before the wind ripped it apart completely. These weren't luxuries. They were survival gear. Without the ability to repair sails or lash a broken mast, the ship became a coffin. Pirates, unlike Navy sailors, didn't have a supply base waiting for them. Their entire world was floating wood and canvas. If something broke, it had to be fixed with whatever they carried, or they were done for. Navigation and the fight against the unknown. Getting lost at sea was one of the most terrifying ways to die. Pirates relied on tools like the compass, the quadrant, and crude charts, drawn, borrowed, or stolen. A good navigator was as prized as a cannon. With the compass steady and the stars above, pirates calculated their position by instinct and experience. They also used a lead line, a long rope with a heavy weight, to test the ocean's depth. It told them how close they were to reefs or sandbanks. No GPS, no backup plan, just knowledge, touch and trust in the sea. In battle or storm, knowing your bearings meant survival. That's why pirates protected their navigational tools as fiercely as treasure. Without direction, they were lost men on a drifting coffin. the hidden personal kit. Every sailor had a chest or pouch of personal items, their lifeline when things went wrong. Inside you'd find a small knife, sewing kit, bits of canvas and spare clothing. The housewife, as the sewing kit was called, could patch torn sails, mend clothes or stitch wounds in a pinch. Needles and thread were as valuable as blades. Many carried bits of dried food, a flask of water or rum, and sometimes, a lucky charm. Rum wasn't just for pleasure. It was clean, preserved liquid in a world of spoiled water. A cutlass could defend against enemies, but honestly, a needle and a rope kept you alive longer. And if they went down with the ship? Those same items, knife, rope, tar, could be used to build a raft, signal for rescue, or even, make fire on a barren island. This was real prepping, 17th century style. Survival in storms and battle. Pirates knew the ocean could turn against them at any moment. That's why lifeboats, spare oars and patched sails were always close. During attacks, ropes and tar doubled as repair tools between cannon shots. Sailors stuffed torn planks with oakum and smeared it with hot tar to seal leaks. They didn't have hours. Sometimes they had seconds before the hull filled with water. A battle wasn't just about firepower. It was about who could stay afloat longer. A ship that could patch and sail faster often survived. That was pirate logic. Fight, repair, escape, repeat. The same mindset drives modern preppers. Adapt fast or go under. The real secret of the pirate's kit. The truth is, the pirate survival kit wasn't glamorous. It was raw, practical and soaked in salt water and sweat. But it worked. The gear that mattered wasn't shiny. It was the rope, the tar, the knife and the knowledge to use them. Every pirate carried the spirit of a survivor, the kind who planned for the worst while hoping for calm seas. They lived by one rule: prepare or perish. That mindset, centuries old, still drives the survival community today. Whether it's fixing a leak in a storm or surviving a power grid failure on land, the principle is the same. Gear matters, but mindset matters more.